East Hampton Town Board, you are live, you're being recorded, you are streaming on YouTube, live stream, and on the channel. All the best, and the phone lines are open.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the June 2nd regular meeting of the East Hampton Town Board. Carol, would you please read the roll call?
Present.
Present.
Here. Present.
Present. Please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This afternoon, we have 11 public hearings, which will be followed by a public portion where any member of the public may address the board on any topic. We ask that you please keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. And then we will also have resolutions offered by council persons. Carol, if you'd please read the first public hearing.
We have
Hugh King. We have Hugh King, our town historian, with us today. Hugh.
He's being admitted right now as we speak. Hugh King, you are live, good sir.
Hi.
Good afternoon, Hugh.
Hi, everyone. Glad to be back. I know you have only 11 public hearings today, so this could be a record. Do we know?
No,
don't.
it's not. It's not.
We
We had
don't think
13
it
one
is.
time.
All right, you all have a question for me, and then I have a question for you that can be answered next time. And then I have 2 announcements, and then I'll be gone. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, Councilwoman Rogers, do you have a question?
I do. Why is Captain Samuel Mulford called, why is his nickname Fishhooks?
Well, because probably of a legend. He was, Samuel Fishhooks Mulford talked about taxation without representation way before the American Revolution, and he was so incensed about the tax on whale oil, and then we had to get a license to hunt the whales, that he went to England, and supposedly to prevent his pockets from being picked, he put fish hooks in them. So when the pickpockets went in there, they would get cut up. It's a great story. We don't know if it's true, but we keep telling it anyway.
And he was successful in his protest, wasn't he?
Correct. Yes, he was. In fact, he walked from here. I think he went to New England and then walked to get to a boat, a ship to take him over to England.
Yeah, I was having quite a fight with the governor at the time.
Yes. In fact, they kicked him out of the assembly. He got reelected, and then they told him to shut up, so we printed his speech, and then they had enough of him, I guess. So
That's a fine East Hampton spirit there.
Yes. Councilwoman Overby.
Yeah, so I'm going to go to Amagansett and ask you about Miss Amelia's cottage and its connection to the Amagansett Historical Association and why we still have Miss Amelia's cottage.
Yes. You know where the record store is in East Hampton? I mean, in Amagansett? That was the site of the Amagansett News Store. And then eventually it was bought by Bob Morse and Bob Winslow. And then they wanted to build an IGA. So they were going to buy, or they bought Miss Amelia's cottage property, and they were going to put the IGA there. Can you imagine what would have happened? We had it there. So that means so many people in Amagansett then went into an uproar, and the Amagansett Historical Association was formed, and they purchased Miss Amelia's cottage and the property there. And then to their credit, Bob Morse and Bob Winslow said, all right. And then they moved the IGA over to its present spot in Amagansett. 1964, I think, or 1965, all that began. And you know what else is celebrating an anniversary is the AVIS, right?
Yes.
Yes. They were 1921, I believe. Okay, is that it?
That's it, unless you want to talk about Miss Amelia and who she was.
Well, Miss Amelia lived in there until 1930. She died upstate New York. So I, for years, thought she was buried in the Amagansett Cemetery, and I couldn't find her. That's because she's not there. that house was actually moved there from, it was up where the La Coche, the restaurant is, and it was moved down the hill, we think, to get it closer to water with the well, and then move it in closer to where the settlement was in Amagansett. She got a certificate from the Chautauqua Institute, Miss Amelia. And that's about all I know.
Thank you. That was great.
Okay. Supervisor Van Scoyac.
Okay, so in what year was the blacksmith shop built in Springs, and who built it?
I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to mention that. The blacksmith shop was open on Memorial Day weekend. Thank you, Councilwoman Gonzalez and others who pushed that forward. There were over 100 people who showed up to see James DeMartis working. It was built in 1886 for Charles Silas Parsons. Pretty sure it was built on Springs Fireplace Road when they built his house, which is still standing right across from the Pollock Krasner Center. That was his house. And then the blacksmith shop was run by Charles Parsons until 1926 when he died. And then in the 80s, it was moved over to its present spot, and it was the last blacksmith shop, I think, operating in the town.
That's absolutely correct, Hugh. I'm very impressed. And
Well,
you even knew where it was moved from. So I'm.
Well, Susan Bennett owned the blacksmith shop. Owned that property, and she worked at Spring School for many years.
Do you know why it was moved from Springs Fireplace Road to where it resides now? Was it donated to the town or town purchased it?
George Sid Miller was behind this. I think he wanted to save that building, and he convinced Susan Bennett to donate it, I think, to the town, or they sold it. I can't remember. But it was falling apart over there on that property, and people were breaking into it. So that's the other reason, I think, that they pushed to move it.
So doesn't George Sid Miller also have the distinguished honor of being the longest consecutive elected supervisor in the town?
That's George Asa Miller.
Oh, George Asa. Okay.
So how many more years do you have to go?
I don't think I'm going to beat that record. I think it was, how many years was it?
Like 26?
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen.
Councilman Lees.
Yeah. Yes. Hi, Hugh. How are you?
Hi.
My question to you is, while there were many farms that raise dairy and dairy cows, and there's other locations that just bottled some of the dairy milk, can you name me some of the dairies that were in town that either raised dairy cows or bottled under what names?
Well, of course, there was the Hicks Dairy was in Amagansett. Baker Brothers Dairy was also in Amagansett, and there was a Hand Dairy in Amagansett on Hand Lane. At least they raised cows over there. It wasn't a dairy necessarily. And if you go in Amagansett and you go down the driveway across from the Jonathan Baker house, the silo is still there from Baker Brothers Dairy. It was also run by Emil Gardell, and his sons had the Hicks Dairy. Dune Alpin was a dairy up in the village of East Hampton, and then wasn't there one on Montauk Highway? Well, that's Dune Alpin. There was the Cove Hollow Dairy. I don't know. Give me some more.
Schwank.
Oh, well, Schwanks, yes.
Was,
And you know what was a favorite of everybody? The Schwanks container. You know, that yellow container? And people used to put it on back of their bicycles, and you could carry things in it.
I like their iced tea. I also have Gould and Tillinghast.
Oh, yes. Dairy. I'm sorry. Yes, of course. The Gould Dairy was where Gould
Sherry's
Street
Dairy.
is.
Sherry's Dairy.
The Tillinghast Dairy. Yes.
Sherry's.
Who?
Sherry's Dairy.
Well, Sherry, I don't know where that was. There was a guy named Louis Sherry used to deliver milk.
Yep. And there was Osborne Dairy and Hardscrabble.
Oh, and Hardscrabble. That's right. Yep. Oh, great. Boy,
So
can you imagine?
No.
So I
You know
wasn't
what happened
keeping
to the
track. How
dairy?
many was that?
I didn't know about Hicks, so he got me on Hicks. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
10 dairies. Wow.
Dairies.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you know what happened when the Suffolk County Health Department said you had to pasteurize or take care of the milk? A lot of the dairies closed.
Yep.
Because they didn't want to do that. That's a good question. Dairies. All right. Councilwoman Gonzalez.
Hugh, could you share with us one or two of your favorite memories from the 350th anniversary celebration?
Yes, because we're going to have the 375th next
I was
year.
teeing you up.
Oh, yes, yes. Well, but one of my favorite memories? Well, certainly the parade that was held in October. And you know what the best part? This is really self-serving and not very nice, but it rained in the morning of the parade. But Jimmy Brooks, who was the chairman of the parade, we're going to have the parade. But what it did, it stopped so many people from coming out here for the parade. So most of the people at the parade were actually from East Hampton, and they shut the road down. So for the first time in our lives, we were able to walk down the middle of Main Street and look at what was on either side in a very, very slow manner. It was wonderful. It was just a wonderful day for that. That was the best. And I think the other thing I remembered was Loretta's lecture on the Goody Garlic case was approved by the board, and we gave it at Guildhall. All those lectures at Guildhall were just fantastic, arranged by Tom Toomey and Guildhall. They were wonderful. That's a good one. Okay,
Yeah, I have
now
to-
here's your question. Okay, for next time, please, I want you to remember one historic fact that you learned with all these questions we've been asked. What has stood out in your mind the most? What is something you learned that you had no idea existed? In other words, similar to Councilwoman Gonzalez's question. What's the one thing in all these questions that we've done that has struck you? Does that make sense?
Yes.
And one more thing, and then I'll leave for your 11. June 11th at 5 o'clock at the Life Saving Station will be the Cavalcade of History radio show commemorating the 80th anniversary of the Saboteur landing in Amagansett. It'll be at 5 o'clock. Doors will open at 4:45. And everyone will be required to wear a mask. Okay? That's the story. Anything else?
Thank you so much, Hugh. It's great to see you.
Yeah, thank you.
Best
Thank
to
you.
Loretta, and
Okay.
we look forward to seeing you again very soon, and we'll be working on our historic facts that stood out.
Okay, thank you.
Carol, would you please read the first hearing notice?
Okay.
Notice that the town board of the town of East Hampton will hold a public hearing in town board meeting room, East Hampton Town Hall, pursuant to section 247, the general municipal law, and section 64E8 of the town law of the state of New York on June 2nd at 2 p.m. or as soon thereafter as this matter may be heard to consider the following. The town's acquisition for the preservation of open space with community preservation funds of a property located at 387 Town Line Road in Waynescott, reputedly owned by Shirley Malman and consisting of approximately 4.7 acres of vacant land at a cost to the town of East Hampton not to exceed $1,850,000 plus reasonable survey, title, prorated tax, and recording charges. Said property being described on the Suffolk County tax map as 300-132-1-5.1, an amendment to the 2022 CPF Management and Stewardship Plan to include said property. The public hearing will be held live and in person at the town board and will be available electronically by video and teleconferencing and will be televised on local TV channel 22 and available for live stream on LTV's website. The public shall be permitted to appear in person but may also provide comments on the matter being heard by calling 351-888-6331. Any person or party wishing to be heard with respect to the foregoing may do so in person or by agent, by attorney, or by written comment comment addressed to the East Hampton Town Clerk, 159 Panago Road, East Hampton. Comments may also be submitted to the town clerk by email to cbrennan@ehamptonny.gov. All comments must be received by the town clerk by the date and time of the public hearing. Please check the meeting agenda posted on the town's website for any changes for updated information.
So if you'll note on the aerial, the property that we're discussing is outlined in blue, 387 Town Line Road. It's nearly to the border of Sag Harbor and also on the border of the town of Southampton. This is a beautiful woodland parcel. It's actually contiguous to over 200 acres of preserved lands, nearly all of which being CPF acquisitions. And you can see on the aerial, it's actually bisected by the East Hampton to Sag Harbor Trail. That's that sort of dotted brown and blue line that goes right through it. And trails are a special consideration for the town to protect. It's also in the Water Recharge Overlay District, the South Fork Groundwater Protection Area, Groundwater Zone 5, and the Suffolk County Pine Barrens. Before this public hearing, we actually had a question from a resident regarding ownership of this property. If you actually look it up in the town records, it comes up as Winsand Group Ltd, care of Zimpino Law LLP. We are working with the seller's attorney, and they have indicated that Shirley Malman is the owner and will be the sole signatory. Our contract and this resolution indicate Ms. Malman as the purported owner. The town works with various title companies and acquiring both searches and title insurance to help ensure we are actually purchasing the property from the correct owner or entity. Any contract of sale is subject to clear marketable title. And be aware it will be the adoption of an after hearing resolution authorizing acquisition, which actually allows me to order that title. So this would be a great acquisition for open space, protection of the trail, as well as the watershed. Therefore, I would ask the board to pass a resolution to acquire.
Thank you, Scott. Is there anyone who wishes to address the board on this matter? David.
Welcome. Welcome back to Town Hall.
Nice to see you.
I almost lost my way coming here. This is a excellent acquisition. It's been on the CPF project plan for a long time. It's surrounded by other town-acquired properties. In fact, the rest of the property, when it was subdivided back in 2002, 2003, was acquired by the town. The rear or eastern part of this property. And the town currently has a 1 acre scenic easement in the front. My only concern, and is not about the quality of the purchase or the price, but according to every available record at the town and the county, the named owner, the purported owner, is not the current owner. I cannot understand how you can notice a hearing for and not disclose the current owner. And from what Mr. Wilson said, representatives of the actual owner say that Ms. Malman will become the owner. I don't know when and how, but I just want to take this as an opportunity to remind everyone that it's important that there be a full and correct disclosure of all people who are involved and benefiting from town business, such as a CPF acquisition. According to the county records, the owner appears to be Winsand Group Limited, a British Virgin Islands corporation, which has had various addresses around the world and different legal representatives. But Shirley Malman is not a name that anywhere appears in the record. So I don't understand. I appreciate that I gave advance notice of this, my concern, both to Mr. Jelnicki and to Mr. Wilson, but for them to say it's going to become her property is not really an explanation of how we can approve a transaction today for someone who isn't currently the owner of record. And it's a little bizarre, a little strange. It makes me wonder what's really going on in terms of ownership. This property has sat fallow for 20 years after a subdivision owned by a foreign entity with a British Virgin Islands address, And now all of a sudden, some name pops out of nowhere claiming to be the owner. And I just think that the title records and contracts should be obviously airtight. But may I ask, Mr. Jolnicki, is this a transaction in which the town has taken advantage of the opportunity to enter into a conditional contract prior to the hearing?
Actually, I don't recall if we've done that with this one. Scott, did we do that?
Yes, it is additional contract of sale.
And who's your contract vendor?
Well, Shirley Malman is the signator on that document.
Well, what value is it if she's not the current owner?
Well, again, it would be the adoption, after hearing resolution that the board would adopt, that actually gives me permission to retain a title company to do that search. So that's why it's a conditional contract.
I think it's important to acknowledge the fact that we don't actually purchase the property until it goes to closing, and that, you know, all the due diligence will be taken into account prior to that occurring.
With all due respect, the public's rights and the town board's obligation to disclose the parties involved in the transaction occurs now at the time of the public hearing.
And that's been done, David. We've disclosed the parties that are involved.
But they're not the owner of the property. That's what Mr. Wilson has acknowledged. You're going to adopt a resolution to buy property from someone that doesn't own it. Well, that's just great.
Thank you, David. Anyone else wish to address the board on this public hearing? Yes, ma'am, you would like to speak to this public hearing? Yes, and this is again for acquisition and amend the management and stewardship plan. Do we have any callers on the line who wish to address the board on this matter?
We have one caller on the line. I will let them through right now and see which one they wish to address. Hello, caller ending 6608. You are on the air. Hello.
Hi, this is Rick Whalen calling in on the hearing on the acquisition on Town Line Road. So first of all, before I get to that, I want to mention in your history of dairies, you all missed one. The Peterite Dairy on Cedar Street was active in the first half of the 20th century, and the silo is still there. You're going down Cedar Street on the northeast side. That was Peterite. So anyway, regarding this acquisition, one thing I'd love to comment here. First of all, I actually was the deputy town attorney that purchased when the town purchased the northeasterly part of this lot. So I was just noted earlier, there was an earlier acquisition that left the parcel that you're buying today, still in private hands. And I guess it was in the early 2000s that we bought the remaining property. My recollection at the time was that the beneficial owner of the property was a woman who was a model. She may have been from Brazil. I remember she was not a U.S. citizen. But I think that's the beneficial. That, I don't know directly, but that may be Shirley Malman. And as indicated by Scott Wilson, it's not very unusual for the town to go into contract and then learn. And this happens in the private sphere as well as when the town is buying property. You go to contract and then it turns out in the title report that the actual ownership is somewhat different than you were, understood in the first place. So I don't find that very unusual. Concerning the merits of the acquisition, I'd like to support what Scott said, and I would also reiterate that this is the very northern end of a trail known as the East Hampton to Sag Harbor Trail. It goes from the old Montauk Highway in Waynescott. Formerly it was a dirt road, was a concrete road. It's been paved. It goes from there up over the railroad tracks and then over Waynescott Northwest Road, and then angles its way up over Merchants Path, and eventually contacts Town Line Road about where this property is. It runs through this property. So it's a very valuable acquisition. It does add to the over 200 acres in the Sag Harbor Woods, which are mostly owned by the town in the area in question. And so, and by the way, I should state, I'm also stating this as the Vice President for Trails Planning of the East Hampton Trails Preservation Society. So it's a great acquisition, and I'm fully in support of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Do we have any other callers on the line?
We have no other callers on the line.
Motion to close?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried. Carol, if you read the next hearing notice, please.
Take notice that the town board of the town of East Hampton will hold a public hearing in the town board meeting room, 159 Panago Road, East Hampton, pursuant to section 247 of the general municipal law and section 64E8 of the town law of the state of New York on June 2nd at 2 p.m. or as soon thereafter as this matter may be heard, to consider the following: the town's acquisition for preservation of open space with the community preservation funds of a property located at 6060 East Lake Drive, Montauk, reputedly owned by Highland Meadows and consisting of approximately 18.8 acres of vacant land at a cost of the town of East Hampton not to exceed $4,250,000 plus reasonable survey, title, prorated tax, and recording charges. Said property being described on the Suffolk County tax map as 323-3, an amendment to the 2020 CPF management and stewardship plan to include said property.
Thank you, Carol. Do we have anyone here who wishes to address?
Scott's going to introduce it.
Scott.
Scott, are you still with us?
Sure, I'm still here.
Great.
So a 19-acre property at the south end of Lake Montauk. Of course, this was on our Lake Montauk outreach list. This is the property on our aerial. It's outlined in blue. The property is made up of moorland habitat with extensive wetlands on the lower portions. There are tiny streams, marshy areas, wetland habitat areas whose hydrology directly connects to the lake. As you walk up that parcel through the dense vegetation to the higher elevations, more of Lake Montauk is exposed for view. The property's topography ranges from a low of 20 feet near East Lake to a high of 85 feet. You can't see the full extent on this aerial, but the property directly abuts nearly 1,000 acres of county parkland. The property directly to the east is the Theodore Roosevelt County Park, as well as state lands further east and south of the highway. It's surrounded by preserved land. And please note the brown line on this aerial that abuts the eastern border represents the Pominock Path. There will be consideration to include a trail spur onto the property, giving a commanding view of Lake Montauk. The property is on the state, the county, the town, the Peconic Estuary Program's Critical Lands Protection Strategy preservation lists. For this reason, I would ask the board to pass a resolution to acquire this property. It's a winner.
Thank you, Scott. Anyone here? David, you'd like to address the board on this matter?
Yes, the acquisition is a winner,
Sorry,
and
just
so I'm
for
only
those who might be watching who don't know you, just give you
David Budis, same as before. Yes, the acquisition appears to be a winner. No objection. I do want to take this opportunity, though, to emphasize that, at least to me, in my mind, it's important that the town respect the public's right to know the names of individuals who are involved in a significant transaction, a $4 million transaction. When a property is listed in a resolution, it should be properly and thoroughly and correctly described. In this case, the resolution and the notice simply refer to it as being owned by Highland Meadows. If one takes a look at the deed, one finds that Highland Meadows was the name of a New York partnership, and it appears that there were two individuals who were neighbors of this property who were the partners, one of them whom is now deceased. So there may in fact be an estate and beneficiaries involved. I don't know who's involved, but I do want to criticize the laxity with which the town acts in merely describing the purchase of a $4 million of land from an entity or from a name that is not an entity. It's not described as a corporation, an LLC, or in this case, the correct description is a partnership. But if it's a partnership, the partners should be listed. Anyone who owns more than 10% of the stock of a corporation should be listed. Anyone who is a managing partner of an LLC should be listed. Anyone who is a partner in a partnership should be listed so people know who's involved, who's doing business with the town, who has the town selected to acquire this land from. And in the case of a partnership, a long-term partnership, this property's been in same ownership for a long time. When a partner dies, that partnership actually ceases to exist. So there must be actually succession passing in accordance with the partnership agreement. I don't know who currently owns it, but I think the town is obliged to do its due diligence before it publishes a resolution asking for a public approval of a transaction. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Anyone else wish to address the board on this matter?
It's just me for 1 second. So Carol M. Andrews is the sole surviving partner. She's the sole signature. I don't know if that helps Mr. Buddha answer his question, but yes, we are aware of who is going to be signing off. It's Carol M. Andrews.
Jason, do we have any callers on the line?
Yes, we do. Mr. Whalen is back to comment. And 6608, you're on the air.
Yeah. Thank you. Yep, Rick Whalen again. Speaking now as an individual, not on behalf of the Trail Society. There are no trails currently. I mean, no real trails other than deer trails, I guess, on the property right now. As Scott indicated, the Palmnock Path kind of skirts by on the southeastern corner. But this has long been a property that the town should acquire. As Scott pointed out, it adjoins Indian Field County Park. It's the undeveloped land really due west of Third House and the whole Third House complex. There are wetlands on the lower part of the property, as Scott mentioned. The property also has some historic significance that not too many people would be aware of. In the late 1880s, early 1890s, about 55 acres of land here, including this parcel, was purchased by a fellow named John Prentice. This was one of the earlier purchases from what's his name, from Arthur Benson or from his estate, when he, some of the earlier lands, when he bought all the Montauk, he did convey out some lands to friends and associates and so forth. And Prentice, as I said, bought a tract of about 55 acres here. He built a hunting lodge, which burned down in the early 20th century, and I believe the remains of that hunting lodge are on this property. I've never bushwhacked in to try to find it, but I believe that the remains of that lodge are on that property. There was a boathouse associated with the Prentice property, which, believe it or not, still exists on the shore of Lake Montauk, obviously not on the subject land. So there is some historical significance to the property, along with all of its ecological and other valuable considerations. So once again, very good purchase for the town, and I highly recommend the town proceeding with this purchase. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Jason, do we have any other callers on the line?
We have no other callers.
Motion to close?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. Carol, if you'd read the third hearing notice, please.
Notice is hereby given the town board of the town of East Hampton will hold a public hearing in Town Hall 159 Panago Road on Thursday, June 2nd at 2 p.m. or soon thereafter. This matter may be heard to consider comments of all persons on the Rods Valley Park Preserve Management Plan update, Suffolk County Tax Map 326.1.1. The full text of the management plan is available for inspection in the office of the town clerk in 159 Panago Road during regular business hours of 9 to 4, Monday through Friday, exclusive of holidays, and on the town's website. Any person wishing to be heard with at the time of the hearing may do in person by counsel in writing submitted to the town clerk and received by the date and time set forth for the hearing.
No. Okay, is there anyone who wishes to address the board on this matter? Jason, do we have any callers still on the line?
We have no callers on the line.
Motion to close?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. Carol, would you read the fourth notice, please?
Notice is hereby given that the town board of the town of East Hampton will hold a public hearing at Town Hall 159 Panago Road on Tuesday, on June 2nd at 2 p.m. or as soon thereafter, as this matter may be heard to consider comments of all persons regarding the adoption of the amendments to various chapters of the town code to allow for adjudication of violations by way of the Administrative Bureau of Adjudication, new Chapter 162, supplemental real estate transfer tax for community housing of the town code, and abstract to which follows.
Oh,
Those were two.
those are two separate ones.
Well, that was, yeah. That was,
But I think we did before it went.
I have a. Does that help you? Oh, what's wrong in there?
A local law adopting amendments to Chapter 82, Peace and Good Order, 86, Animals, 91, Beaches and Parks, 141, Fire Protection, 151, Special Event Permits, 167, Littering and Dump Control, 185, Noise, 198, Peddling, 213, Shellfish, 240, Vehicles and Traffics, and 246, Waterways and Boats, to allow for the adjudication of violations under these chapters by the Bureau of Administrative Adjudication, all as more fully set forth in the text of the local law. A copy of the local law is available on the town's website and from the town clerk during regular business hours.
Carol, anyone wish to address the board on this matter? David?
Is David McMaster here to talk about? Yeah, David's here. You want him to?
David, did you want to introduce this or?
I was just here to respond to
Okay.
the board.
All right. Very good. Go ahead, David.
It's a very simple point. My question is not actually about the text of the resolution, but I was just wondering if you could take this opportunity to update the public on your timetable and progress and putting this adjudicative bureau into effect. I know that you were advertising for director. Just wondering if you could just update us on the
Sure.
overall timetable.
So we have not selected an administrator yet. And this is a necessary step prior to moving forward. We intend to have this in place for the season. Anyone else wish to address the board on this matter?
Motion to close?
Anyone on the phone?
Do we have any callers on the
We
line?
have no callers on the line.
Okay, we have a motion to close. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Hi.
Aye. Passed and carried. Carol, please read the fifth
Notice
notice.
is hereby given the town board of the town of East Hampton will hold a public hearing at Town Hall, 159 Panago Road on Thursday, June 2nd at 2 p.m. or as soon thereafter as this matter may be heard, to consider comments of all persons regarding an amendment to the town code section to read as follows: a local law amending Chapter 160, Community Housing Opportunity Fund of the East Hampton Town Code in order to implement the authority given to the town to establish a dedicated fund to provide a variety of needed housing opportunities as authorized by Chapter 445 of the laws of 2021 entitled An Act to Amend the Town Law and the Tax Law in relationship to authorizing towns in the Peconic Bay region to establish community housing funds to be funded by a supplemental real estate transfer tax. The public hearing will be held live and in person by the town board and will be available electronically by video and teleconferencing and will be televised on local TV channel 22 and available for live stream on the LTV website. The public shall be permitted to appear in person, but may also provide comments on the matter being heard by calling 351-888-6331.
Thank you, Carol. We have one person signed up to speak for this hearing. Jane?
Good afternoon, Town Board. I'm Jane Meering. I'm a resident of East Hampton. Specifically, I live in Amagansett. My comments are about 160. I have some woven in around 162, which is related. I hope that's okay that I just put them in one. Okay. I believe the establishment of this fund, the collection of these monies, and the forming of the new oversight committee, as well as what will be the related community housing plan, I know we're going to hear more about in the coming weeks, all in will be one of the essential tools needed to address our current crisis level affordability and community housing unit deficit. innocent. I again want to express my thanks to this board and all the members of town departments and committees who've been working on this effort to get East Hampton organized and prepared well in front of the November referendum to adopt our version of the state enabling legislation. I am excited and committed to do whatever I can as an individual to advocate for this. I know the board can't specifically advocate for it, with my fellow East Hampton citizens up to and beyond the vote. If it's okay, I also would like to acknowledge and thank the organization East End YIMBY for their ongoing day in, day out beautiful work and commitment to engaging the community so thoughtfully and effectively around these issues. I imagine they might be on the phone lines today to comment. Beyond the bigger picture that I just referenced, if I may, I would like to clarify just one element of this proposed legislation. I believe back during the May 10th work session, when Town Attorney Ms. Nigro presented the drafting, there was discussion amongst you that there would be an exemption for the 0.5% transfer payment for first-time home buyers. I'd like to think of myself as a close reader. I didn't see it actually in the exemption section of, this is actually more about 162, I believe. So I wanted to see, I know this is not Q&A time, if you will confirm or not that that's in. And then also, I just want to add here in my comments, although I obviously like the idea of that exemption, I just am hoping it will be as tightly circumscribed as possible to really refer to those definitions in 160 for first-time home buyers, residents, those who are eligible and really qualify. Not to be cynical, but there's so much going on in speculative development and people behind LLCs that I would worry that there could be some misguided attempts to exploit that exemption, and then that would just mean a lot of perhaps unnecessarily burdensome vetting and such like that. So I just wanted to leave that on the table, but I'm excited to see a coalition come together on this and going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. Anyone else wish to address the board? David?
Good afternoon again, David Buda from the Springs. I've taken the opportunity to read through the legislation. I caught only one significant typographical error, and that's at the very end of section 2, where there's a reference to subdivision 2 of section 1499BB, capital BB of the tax law. The correct reference should be 1449 lowercase bb of the tax law.
I'm sorry, David. I got the draft here. Can you just restate that? I apologize.
Okay. If you turn to the last page, just above where it says section 3 severability, there's a reference to a section of the tax law. There's a typographical error.
Got it.
The correct reference is 1449 lowercase b, lowercase b. It's written as 1499 capital B, capital B. Just a typo, but you might want to correct that. What's not a typo, and what was simply overlooked and has to be added, is that the effective date of this legislation and the effective date of the legislation to amend Chapter 162 must be expressly made contingent upon a mandatory referendum. This local law, by its terms, goes into effect immediately upon filing with the Secretary of State. The effective date requires a provision that says it's not effective unless and until approved by the general public at the required mandatory referendum. That language must be in this legislation, and it's an omission that is quite significant. You cannot and should not make any changes to your existing community housing opportunity fund structure until that referendum occurs. It's correct to have the legislation in effect, but it has to be made contingent upon becoming effective only if and when there is a successful referendum. And it has to be here. It's not in the state law. The state law requires the referendum, but it's the town code that's being implemented, and that law needs to have a display, has to have an effective date provision that acknowledges the requirement to have the referendum.
Thank you, David. Do we have any callers on the line?
Yes, we do. We have a variety of them, and I will unmute the first right now. Hello, caller ending 4006. You're on the air. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. You're speaking to the board.
Hello? Yes, hi. My name is Veronique Wood. I'm a resident of the Sag Harbor Village and East Hampton Town. And I'm here actually to support the creation of this local law to establish the 5% transfer fee, as well as the establishment of a dedicated house fund. The CPF has been preserving open space and farmland to realize the importance of having dedicated funds. This town is in crisis, and we need help to create housing. So we hope that this law passes and that you support, and that will support us doing our businesses and having people that can help us, a community in our lives.
Thank you for calling, Dominique.
Hello?
Appreciate it. Thank you very much for calling.
Yeah, thank
Jason.
you.
Okay, and moving on to the next caller. And hello, caller ending 1546. You're on the air. Can you hear us?
I think so. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. You are live and on the air.
Okay. Oh, gosh. Okay, thank you. I'm calling to voice my support for the creation of a local law to establish at 0.5% transfer fee that will be used to fund a dedicated housing fund. It's a bipartisan bill introduced by Fred Thiel and Anthony Palumbo of the New York State Assembly and Senate. And I think you have to recognize that the town's in a housing crisis, and creating this by 0.5% for buyers of real estate over $1 million, excluding first-time home buyers, is just critical at this point in time. The local year-round community, our firefighters, our people who work for the town, our teachers, our nurses, our healthcare workers, all of the kids who grew up here and can't afford to stay. This is just a landmark bill, and I really hope we get everyone's support. So anyway, thanks so much.
Thank you. Could you just state your name for the record? I guess they hung up.
That
Okay.
was Jackie Gavron.
Is that who it was? I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. Next caller, please.
Next caller is being unmuted right now. Hello, caller ending 2341. You're on the air. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Hi, this is Bryony Frage. I am a Sag Harbor resident residing on the East Hampton town side of Sag Harbor. I am also a member of East End DMV. We are incredibly excited about both Chapter 160 and 162. I don't know if you want me to only voice my support for the fund, or if I can just express my support for this and the next hearing that's coming. Is that okay, or do you want me to?
You probably should express it for the second hearing as well, so it's part of that record.
Okay.
At that time, if you care to.
Sure. The establishment of this fund is critical, and I applaud the board for getting this out to the public so that we can start the conversation. This is going to be a huge educational effort, I think, on the part of all of our neighborhoods in East Hampton town to make sure that everybody is understanding this legislation, especially that the monies for this fund are going to be funded by buyers of homes, and only the buyers of homes, and not, that this is a property tax across the board for current homeowners. I think that's really an important thing to specify. And like Jane, who spoke earlier, I just wanted to also, I read the both of these pieces closely, and I too was looking for the exemption, and that may be more of an issue for 162, but the exemption for first-time homeowners, because I think that's critical, that those folks don't have to pay this fee, because it's in line with, you know, the spirit of this legislation, to help first-time homeowners in any way that we can. So anyway, I fully support this, and thank you so very much for bringing this up and getting this organized.
Thank you for calling, Bryony. Be well. Jason, do we have any other callers on the line?
We have no other callers on the line, just the two people that already spoke, and that's about it.
Anyone else here like to speak regarding this? Entertain a motion to close.
Motion to close.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried. Carol, read the sixth hearing notice, please.
Notice is hereby given the town board of the town of East Hampton will hold a public hearing at Town Hall, 159 Panago Road on Thursday, June 2nd at 2 p.m. or soon thereafter. As this matter may be heard to consider comments of all persons regarding the adoption of a new Chapter 162 supplemental real estate transfer tax for the community housing of the town code, an abstract which follows. A local law adopting a new Chapter 162 supplemental real estate transfer tax for community housing to the East Hampton Town Code in order to provide the town with authority to collect supplemental funds from the Community Preservation Fund by way of additional tax authorized by Chapter 445 of the laws of 2021, entitled an act to amend the town law and the tax law in relationship to authorizing towns of the Peconic Bay region to establish community housing funds to be funded by a supplemental real estate transfer tax. Such funds so collected will be utilized to provide for a variety of needed housing opportunities.
Thank you, Carol. Anyone here wish to address the board on this matter?
David Buda. First, with regard to the question that was raised by two other people about whether there's still an exemption for first-time homeowners from this tax, will there be? I believe, having gone through this, that there is no such thing other than the fact that the exemption was raised from 250 to 400. I don't believe that it's part of this legislation. I could be wrong, but I don't believe it's in this proposed Chapter 162. The good news is that if you're buying a burial plot, that's exempt. There's no tax on purchase of burial plots. Seriously. I have to say that the same problem with respect to the absence of the correct effective date, that it be contingent upon this law. If you read it, the tax goes into effect immediately. And in fact, if you don't immediately start collecting this tax, any officer or employee of the town who willfully violates the provision of this section shall be dismissed from office and shall be incapable of holding any public office in the state for a period of 5 years thereafter. I like that provision, but it really shouldn't go into effect until there is a successful referendum. All of this has to be in place so that the people will know what is coming, but there must be an effective date provision that conditions it upon the required public referendum approval. Other than that, I have to say that I am concerned about the fact that the exemption from this additional 5.5% tax evaporates at the $2 million purchase level. I think there'll be an awful lot of gamesmanship. You have a $40,000 tax difference, whether you pay 1.999 or whether you pay $2 million. And I don't think that makes a lot of sense, that someone who buys a property for just over $2 million should pay the full amount of the tax after the $400,000 exemption, and where someone who is buying a property just under that is exempt. Is exempt.
Those thresholds are stated in the state law, so we are following that.
Right, but you could. I just think it's going to create problems. I just think it's going to create.
Understand, but that's the legislation we have to work with from the state.
The other thing is I don't believe that this draft is actually ready for prime time. There are at least 3 significant typos and references. I realize that the drafter of this legislation merely tried to copy over the provisions from the existing 2% CPF tax implementation provisions, which are in your chapter 112 of the town code. Unfortunately, they left in here at least 2, possibly 3 or 4 references to the Community Preservation Fund, which doesn't belong here. There are references to 64E of the town law of the state. It should be 64K. There are several inadvertent draftsmanship errors that were made that need to be corrected before this is adopted into law. And again, the effective date is crucial. I mean, for example, it says that all monies received from the controller shall be deposited in the Community Preservation Fund established pursuant to Chapter 1. Well, this is not the Community Preservation Fund. This is the Community Housing Fund, which the town calls the Community Housing Opportunity Fund. They're distinct funds. The 2% goes to the Community Preservation Fund. The 0.5% goes to the Community Housing Opportunity Fund or Community Housing Fund.
I believe those references may be because.
No, they're mistakes. Take a look at it. They're mistakes. They're omissions.
Well, I won't bother trying to complete my sentence. Please continue, David.
Oh, did you read this? It's 13 pages, single space. Did you read it all?
Thank you, David. Yes, I did.
Did you catch the errors?
Well, you're claiming they're errors. We'll take a look at it. Please continue.
Definition of the fund to receive the 0.5%. The East Hampton Community Preservation Fund created and established pursuant to Section 64E of the New York Town Law and Article 1 of this chapter. Wrong fund, wrong reference, draftsmanship error, carelessness. And if you and all of you read this, then you're all equally careless.
Thank you, David. It's good to see you back again.
Glad to be back.
And if I could just clarify, just spoke to the clerk, and Carol has said that this doesn't go to the state until after the referendum passes. And if it doesn't pass, the laws don't go to the state. So it doesn't get sent. If we adopted it, let's say we adopted it today, it doesn't go tomorrow. It doesn't go until after the vote and the referendum passes.
I appreciate that, but what the state legislation says is that the fund and the tax needs to be created by local law that is subject to the law that you are to adopt must be subject to the.
I understand your point. We'll take a look at that, David.
Thank
Thank you.
It's a significant point. It's not simply a matter of we have a law that says it's in effect.
We heard you loud and clear, David. We'll take a look at it.
I'm responding to the councilwoman's comment. It's not a matter.
Already made the point.
It's not sufficient to hold back the legislation from being sent to Albany.
Thank you, David. Jane, would you like to address the board?
Thank you. It's Jane Mearing, Amagansett again. Since it is a separate record, I did want to I'm not going to repeat my comments from before, but I did want to state for the record, I am very enthusiastic of the creation of this fund and the pursuant to the upcoming referendum. I would like to add 2 very brief other comments. I assume that when there is a fund in place and we're collecting monies, hopefully, beginning in 2023, there'll be a number of sort of oversight and auditing requirements that go with it. And there's just one part I'd like to stress, which is that related to that, there'll be a real sort of disciplined data collection and analysis and regular reporting to the public that really tracks, among other things, the development and availability of community housing units, how that relates relative to hopefully a full analysis of our current and projected needs, really starting to quantify sort of what the short-term and long-term deficit of housing or affordable housing is. And then also, I've talked about this before, but I want to take this moment to stress it. I do think we really need a full understanding of what our housing stock across East Hampton looks like. That it's not just this sort of monoculture of big homes, that we are really tracking the small properties, the modest homes, where they are, where they stand, and sort of what's happening to them. So I just really did want to come back and stress that. And then secondly, very, very quickly, the language back in 160 states this in the purpose section, really trying to deal with the diversion of rental properties or even owned properties away from, let's say, full year leases for our residents and our workers and into that, the sort of market for weekend, or seasonal rentals. And again, I do hope as part of the plan that will be addressed with some very specific sort of tactical and strategic ways that once and for all there will be enforcement around that and really dig into that issue. So I just wanted to bring that as well. Thank you again for your time.
Anyone else wish to comment on this public hearing? We have any callers on the line, Jason?
Yes, we do, and I will unmute the first caller now. Hello, call 4006. You're on the air.
Oh, hello.
Hi, you're back on the air. I thought you might want to comment on this one again, considering that you stayed on the line.
Yes, actually, I'd like to.
Could you please state your name?
We are here to.
Excuse me. Can you please state your name for the board?
Yeah. Yes. Hi, my name is Veronique Wood. I'm a resident of the Sag Harbor Village, and I reside on the East Hampton town side. And I'm here to voice my support for the East Hampton town creation of the local law to establish the 0.5% transfer fee, as well as the establishment of the dedicated housing fund. And so we would love to be able to, support this with the board, and hopefully you could push this to your referendum and all the laws that needs to be, and create this fund for us. But not for us personally, obviously, for the people that would need this. Thank you.
Thank you for calling, Dominique.
Okay.
Any other callers on the line, Jason?
Yes, we have about 5 callers left. Hello, caller ending 2341. You are on the air. Hello.
Hi, it's Bryony Frage again, East Hampton town resident of Sag Harbor Village, member of East End DMB. I already really stated my support for this, but just for the record, wanted to express my wholehearted support of this 0.5% transfer fee for buyers of real estate. I look forward to educating my neighbors about what this, how these fees will be collected and the importance of this. And I guess I just wanted to mention, in addition to Jane's comments, and looking into whether or not, hopefully that you can add into this law the provision that, the exemption for first-time home buyers, because I think that's a really crucial part of this. But also just to share that, everyone benefits from community housing, not just those who qualify. And, the community members who make less than $100,000 a year are preparing our food, driving our kids to school, teaching our kids, running local government. And so, I'm really looking forward to this getting on the ballot, voting yes, and urging my neighbors to do the same. So thank you very much.
Thanks for calling, Bryony.
Okay, next caller. Hello, caller ending 8662. You are on the air.
Hey, this is Anna Skrenta from Amagansett, and I'm calling to wholeheartedly support the supplemental real estate transfer tax and the community housing fund that it will fund, and look forward to voting yes for that in November. And I also wanted to thank the town board, each and every member, for the All Hands on Housing initiative, for their diligence in pursuing solutions to this crisis. I have the deepest appreciation for their hard work. So thank you.
Thank you, Anna.
Okay.
Be well.
Unmuting next caller. Let me just get this right. Hello, caller ending 7446. You're on the air.
Hi, my name is Catherine Zoka, and I live in Sag Harbor, and I'm co-chair of Peer Progressive East End Reformers, which is a Eastern Suffolk County organization with over 70 members and hundreds of followers. We're a coalition member of East End EMB, and I just wanted to wholeheartedly express both my support and peer support for the creation of the fund and for the transfer fee for housing. As others have stated, we're in a crisis moment, and we need to get the legislation on or the referendum on the ballot for November so that we can all vote for it. I also want to thank East Hampton Town, the board, and the town itself has been really more proactive on creating housing for people who live in the community and work in the community. They've done a better job than a lot of the other East End towns, and I just want to acknowledge that publicly. Also want to support Jane's advocacy for encouraging you to collect data going forward and to really quantify the needs of the housing. I'm a small retail business owner, and I know how difficult it is to get people who live in the community to be able to work here. We really are at a crisis point, as we have been for quite some time. And I just thank you for being all hands on deck to address this, as Anna just said. And once again, wholeheartedly support moving forward on this. And I'll close by saying I'm a big proponent of having towns build housing over parking lots that they own. It's one way to get more housing in all of our communities. So just something to consider going forward. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for calling, Catherine.
Okay.
Jason, do we have other callers?
I'm muting the next caller right now. Hello, caller ending 1546. You're on the air.
Hi, this is Jackie Gaffron again. I also wanted to reiterate how wonderful it is that you're holding these hearings, and you've been such proponents, and I really appreciate the transparency and publishing all these documents. It's just been a Herculean effort, and you all deserve applause if remotely. And I also just wanted to throw in that, it's critical to keep businesses here too. I mean, right now, local businesses are struggling to keep employees and to hire them. Some local businesses have moved, and it's important to the economic viability of the town. So that was it, and thanks again. I know you've all been putting in so much work, and I've spoken to a few of you, and I really appreciate everything you've done, and anything I can do to help. I'm here. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Jackie. Appreciate you calling.
Okay, and one more caller. Hello, caller ending 779. You're on the air.
Yes, hi. My name is Melissa Ashley. I'm calling about actually a different subject. I'm not sure if I'm doing the right thing. This is the first time I'm calling in to the board. I'm representing
Melissa,
about
Melissa, if you're calling for another topic, if you could just stay on the line. Yeah. Are you just general public comment or one of the other hearings coming up?
No, I'm not sure. I'm really actually calling about Royal Atlantic Beach Resort and what's going to happen with that.
Okay. If you'll just wait until public comment.
Crazy things.
If you'll
public
stay
comment
on
at the end.
Yes, if you'll stay on the line until we get to the general public comments, we'll get to you then.
Okay, yes, I apologize. Thank you.
No worries, Melissa. No problem at all. Okay. Is that it on the line there, Jason?
Yeah, on that note, we have no new callers, and that's it.
I'll entertain a motion to close.
Motion to close. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried. Carol, if you read the 7th public hearing notice, please.
Notice is hereby given that the town board of the town of East Hampton will hold a public hearing at Town Hall, 159 Panago Road on Thursday, June 2nd at 2 p.m. or as soon thereafter as this matter may be heard, to consider comments of all persons regarding a local law amending Chapter 102, Building Construction, Article 1, Building Construction, Section 102-1, Purpose and Intent, and Section 102-24, East Hampton Town Energy Savings Program, and abstract of which follows. Section 102-1, Purpose and Intent is amended to add reference to the inclusion of the New York Stretch Energy Code 2020 supplement to the Energy Conservation Construction Code of the New York State 2020, exclusive of the provisions of Section R403.6.2 of such code. Section 102.24, East Hampton Town Energy Savings Program is amended to add reference to the inclusion of the New York Stretch Energy Code 2020 supplement to the Energy Conservation Construction Code of New York State 2020, to provide for new HERS rating requirements, to set forth the methodology for calculating gross floor area for determining gross floor area for compliance, and to set forth insulation requirements for commercial structures. Section R403.6.2 will be deemed severed from the New York State Stretch Energy Code 2020 supplement and will not be applicable at this time.
Thank you, Carol. Anyone wish to address the board on this matter? David? Any callers on the line, Jason, other than the other caller for public comment?
No.
Motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried. Carol, if you read the 8th public hearing notice, please.
Please take notice that the town board hereby directs that a public hearing shall be held on June 2nd at 2 p.m. or as soon thereafter as this matter may be heard at East Hampton Town Hall, 159 Panago Road, to hear any and all persons either for or against a local law entitled, a local law providing for the amendment of Chapter 240 Vehicles and Traffic to amend Section 240-61, Schedule 11, Parking Prohibited at All Times, to prohibit parking along sections of Essex Street, South Emerson Avenue, and South Elmwood Avenue, and to remove the prohibit of parking along the west side of South Eaton Street, to amend Section 240-77, Schedule 27, time limit parking, May 15th, October 1st, along sections of South Emerson Street, South Edison Avenue, South Essex Avenue, and to amend Section 240-79, Schedule 29, permit parking to remove resident-only parking along a section of South Emerson Avenue.
Thank you, Carol. Is there anyone here wish to stress board on this matter? Jason, any new callers on the line?
No new callers.
Motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, pass and carry. Carol, read the 9th hearing notice, please.
Notice is hereby given the town board of the town of East Hampton will hold a public hearing at Town Hall Meeting Room, 159 Panago Road, East Hampton, on June 2nd at 2 p.m. or soon thereafter, as this matter may be heard on a proposed local law that provides for amendment to Chapter 120 docks and to Chapter 246 waterways and boats of the town code to provide a prohibition on delivery of fuels to boats and vessels at town-owned properties unless specifically permitted in Chapter 120 docks, an abstract of which follows. A local law amending Chapter 120 docks of the town code to prohibit delivery to boats and vessels at town-owned properties unless specifically permitted in such chapter, and only upon the compliance with the requirements set forth in Chapter 120 docks, the provision of Class 1 fuels, gasoline, will be prohibited, and the provision of certain safety requirements on the delivery of Class 2 and Class 3 fuels by fuel trucks to boats and vessels at town-owned properties other than a properly permitted marina or other approved fueling facility will require operators of vessels fueling at the permitted location to obtain proper permits and having all required equipment upon the fueling vessels. Penalties for violations will be provided including civil penalties for cleanup costs and/or damages will be imposed. A reference to the provisions of Chapter 120 docks shall be added to Chapter 246 waterways and boats as well, and all as more fully set forth in the proposed law.
Thank you, Carol. Anyone wish to address the board on this matter? Do we have any new callers on the line, Jason?
No new callers.
Motion to close?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. Carol, read the 10th hearing notice, please.
Please take notice that pursuant to Section 247 of the General Municipal Law of the State of New York and the provisions of the East Hampton Town Code, the Town Board of the Town of East Hampton will hold a public hearing in the Town Hall Meeting Room, 159 Panago Road, East Hampton, on Thursday, June 2nd at 2 p.m. or soon thereafter, as this matter may be heard concerning the following: a grant of scenic and conservation easement to the Town of East Hampton. The grantor is Peter Hamburger. Scenic and conservation easement dated April 25th at 12 Sandpiper Lane, Amagansett, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-175-4 6.1, and the reviewing agency is the ZBA.
Thank you, Carol. Anyone here wish to address the board on this matter? Any new callers on the line, Jason?
No new callers.
I'll entertain a motion to close.
Motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passed and carried. Carol, if you read the 11th and final notice today.
Please take notice that pursuant to Section 247 of the General Municipal Law of the State of New York and the provisions of the East Hampton Town Code, the Town Board of the Town of East Hampton will hold a public hearing in the Town Hall Meeting Room, 159 Panago Road, on June 2nd, and as soon thereafter as this matter may be heard concerning the filing grant of aircraft noise easement to the Town of East Hampton. The grantor is Bradley S. Howe as trustee of the Howe Family Trust. It's an aircraft noise dated April 28th at 18 Two Rod Highway in Waynescott, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-197-527.1, and the reviewing agency is the Planning Board.
Thank you, Carol. Anyone wish to address the board on this topic? Do we have any new callers on the line, Jason?
We currently have no new callers.
I'll entertain a motion to close.
Motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, passed and carried. That brings us up to the public portion. I believe we had a caller. Public portion.
Yes, we do, and I shall unmute that caller right now. Hello, caller ending
Hi, how are you?
7779. Oh, there you are. Hey, you're on the air.
Hello. My name is Melissa Ashley, and I'm calling in reference to the Royal Atlantic Beach Resort. I have been an owner there for approximately about 6 years, almost 7. Recently, the Double K management has sent the south side of the resort some non-disclosure forms stating that they're going to be selling the property to, we're not sure who, excuse my ignorance, but they're not very forthcoming about any information. I'm actually calling I've been elected to call for about 10 other owners. So we're just trying to find out information. Has the building sold? Has the town approved of the sale? Is there going to be any building going on? Does the town have any information that they could give us?
Yeah, Melissa, I don't have any direct information. I have heard rumors about a proposed sale. The town does not need to approve a sale, and any
improvements, correct?
Correct. Any improvements that would require building permits would also require site plan review.
Has any company submitted any requests for building permits or anything like that?
Again, I have no knowledge of that. We certainly could check with the building department if you care to follow up with my office afterwards.
Okay, I'll definitely do that. Again, my name is Melissa Ashley, and we're just, the management company there is basically keeping the owners in the dark. And we're just trying to figure out what's going on and what is happening for us financially. So, you know, that's it. I just feel like it's being a little bit done shadily, if I could say. So the other thing is I'd like to mention that there is a large amount of garbage on the property. I don't know if that's illegal, but on the north side of the property, on the south end of the north side, it's almost like a garbage dump in the woods. So I'm not sure if that's called illegal dumping. I have videos of it. It's quite disturbing. It looks like there's cockfighting going on in there because there is a mesh ring with chairs around it. So I just, you know, I don't know how to pursue that. Get
again,
that, you know, sort of taken care of. It probably is illegal.
Yeah, that's something you could refer to Ordinance Enforcement, and I'm sure they would look into that immediately.
Okay, Ordinance Enforcement, okay. You know what? Maybe I should just send you an email with everything of all of our concerns. We also
That
have a
would
lot
be
of
fine.
concerns about the tenants in the basement, which I think a large majority of them might be illegal. Okay, so I'll just send you an email. Are you the supervisor, town supervisor?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for your time.
You're very welcome. Thanks for calling, Melissa.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, we
Yes,
have
ma'am.
no
You
new
wanted to
callers.
just. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Board. My name is Mary Wallace, and I live at 10 Dolphin Drive. I think we're all aware that the East End is in big trouble in terms of the weather and the hurricanes that are being predicted. And even today in the Star, they're talking the dire predictions. And you know, when I first moved out here, I was afraid of that. And I've always had this little fear inside. It's such a beautiful place. I want to be here. And I close off the idea that, no, we are in danger. So, and I'm sure this is on all your minds as the board. It's a big headache. In my mind, it seems to be the biggest problem we're facing out here. I mean, today they mentioned, and they've mentioned before, that in 1938, there was that huge hurricane. I think over 700 people died, but probably not a lot of people lived out here then. But $9,000 homes were destroyed, etc. And Napeague was underwater. Montauk was an island. Okay, in 2012, Sandy comes along and it almost hit us, but we kind of dodged the bullet a little bit. We did get hit. And unfortunately, this is real. This is a reality. I don't even want to think about it now. I don't even want to think about it because if I think about it, I get really scared. But it's hurricane season. It's coming. It's coming. Maybe we're next. I don't know. There's another factor I want to talk about, and that is that on Dolphin Drive, that we are next to a primary dune. This primary dune saved us during Sandy. To the right of us, to the left, the water had come across the highway. It is a reality. And I come and I say this to you, and I've said it before. It is real. The dune is being squished already by footprints. If you put parking there, there will be a destruction of the dune at a time when we are in such dire danger to discuss doing anything that would detract from our safety. And it's not just our community. God knows if those dunes weren't there, it would be the whole area. It's not just our little community, definitely our community. Our children, people could be drowned, homes could be destroyed. This is real. Sometimes we don't want to see the reality but it's real. And I come to tell you that. So I really came today to ask your help. I want to know that this reality is taken in, that you understand this reality. It's real. You know, if you ignore it, it's kind of like somebody focusing on getting a sandwich when someone's has broken into your house and is pointing a gun at your head, and you're just, oh no, I want to have a sandwich. I'm going to focus over here. No, this is life and death. At this time, and you had dismissed this idea 8 years ago, and it was smart. You really analyzed it. And now the situation is much worse. Sea level is higher, and now we have all these hurricanes coming. So I want to ask your help. I would like this to stop. This your constituents are all upset. They're frightened. And this is a time where we all need to pull together. If you know, and I'm sure you are working night and day. We need all our energy to fight what's coming our way. My community needs time not to focus on, oh, is there going to be parking in Runau Dune, and now we're going to get flooded and drown away. But we need to put sandbags. We need to put signs. We need to protect. Every community out here really should be working with you to support you in supporting the East End. Otherwise, we're going to lose it. We could actually, and we need to take that in. These are realities. Our dunes, like CARP, your wonderful committee. Thank you for forming a committee to come up with ideas. CARP has said we must protect the primary dunes. The primary dunes are the dunes along the coast. So when the ocean starts to rise, and boy, did it ever rise in the last hurricanes, there's something to possibly protect us. And so we can't look away from this. This is a reality. It is absolutely insane to think about taking away something that could protect you during such a serious time, and it will take it away. Okay.
Yeah, Mary, there's no plan to affect the primary dune in that peak whatsoever.
I know, but we keep hearing about it, and it's upsetting everybody, and it's our lives, our children, our homes. This is serious. This is being washed away, and it is nothing to do with anything else. I mean, there are other reasons, danger in the highway and this and that, but the hurricane season is starting now, and if you keep talking about it, you're upsetting all the people out here. I ask you, please, please, just let this go. You let it go 8 years ago. Now this situation is much worse. It's much more serious.
Thank you, Mary.
Okay. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to address Jane?
Since I'm here in public for the first time in 2 years, I thought I would say something else.
Take advantage.
Well, you're here, you might as well make a day of it.
Right, yeah, make a day out of it. Get a sandwich.
We will be.
I've been at this for a couple years now, really getting more involved and listening to meetings and taking the opportunity to speak. And this board, I really feel so strongly that you do very much to protect and ensure the right of the public to engage and to speak. And we have, I've said this before, many shots on goal every month to be able to come up and speak at public hearings or public portion. One needs only to look a smidge up the road that way to look at another board that not only values, but doesn't actually even try and pretend to embrace public comment. But today, even though I think you do an amazing job, but I wanted to give you 3 things that maybe could enhance it even a little bit more. Number one, if it's possible, if agendas could post for the town board meeting a little more in advance of what they do. So today's agenda agenda, which was chock full of things, came up 24 hours prior. Obviously, I look at ZBA, and those often, like those come up 3 weeks in advance, and even planning board and ARB come up sooner before, even if it's a work in progress, if there is a way to see them published a little bit sooner so people have a chance to get their time and gear and prepare if they want to. Related to that, number two, as you do with the work sessions, there's a great link, like when you go to the agenda page, that shows all the documents that are related to what's going to be discussed at work session. It would be great if there was also a similar link for public meetings, because otherwise you have to know, okay, when was the resolution for the public hearing approved, and then go back and find that language. So that would be helpful. I don't know if that's possible. And then related to that, when I go into the town board page with meetings coming up, and then there's a section below that has sort of the list of things that have been passed and notice of public hearings that have been made. I'm not always finding it completely up to date or in sort of an order. So I just wanted to address that as well. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Jane. David?
David Buda, a couple of public comments. First of all, for those who are concerned about the first-time buyer exemption from the additional proposed 0.5% real estate tax, I think the answer is, and maybe John knows this, it's not in this legislation. With respect to the CPF 2%, it's not in Chapter 112, so it must come from some other source, either tax code or some other part of the town code. So it has nothing to do, the omission is not because it doesn't apply, it's going to probably apply, but by virtue of other legislation. So we've answered my own question there. Number two, to reiterate, the state passed enabling legislation to create this community housing fund, which we term the Community Housing Opportunity Fund because we had a pre-existing fund and you kept the name. But the supplemental real estate transfer shall be enacted by a local law subject to a mandatory referendum. When you pass laws, sometimes they are subject to a permissive referendum. These are a law that must be expressly subject to a mandatory referendum. It should be in the law. A couple of housekeeping matters. Again, it's been so long, they want to take an advantage, make a full day of it. When it comes to, and I applaud everyone who's been responsible for creating your work session page of relevant documents and maintaining it on a consistent basis for now more than a year. And I've said this before, I'll say it again, when it comes to public hearings, there are equally important public documents. For example, for every CPF transaction, and these tend to be bigger and bigger and more expensive all the time, if the town has taken advantage of the opportunity to enter into a conditional contract, which doesn't have to do, but if it often does, so as to bind the seller in case the public hearing is approved, they can't change their mind. That conditional contract, if there is one, and the town's planning department's analysis or evaluation report should be disclosed on the town website so that people can know what this is all about and not have to show up at the hearing to hear first time from Mr. Wilson in his presentation, where's the property, what's it about, why is this important, why are we going to buy this? Next, the work of the Special Events Permit Committee is very important. There have been abuses in the past, which I hope will never happen again, such as parties for their 500 closest friends of people who bring in the Red Hot Chili Peppers for entertainment. But one of the things that you used to do, and I think it was perhaps just an omission in today's Resolution 719, if there's going to be an event at a private residence, in addition to the date and the sponsor's name and the time, there should be an address, just so that to alert neighbors. Sometimes that's done. I know that when there was a wedding recently scheduled to happen in July, the address was mentioned so that people can be aware. They may want to be home that day, they may want to be not home that day. But when you have a fundraiser and that's going to occur from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. on a Saturday next month, the residents should be mentioned. And perhaps you should give consideration to mentioning the estimated number of people involved. Is this something that's going to involve 10 people, or is this, well, they would need a permit. Is this something that's going to involve 50 people, 100 people, 200 people? Which category is this, are these particular events so that it triggers the public special permit process? Next and last, when you get to resolution 747, which is kind of an interesting resolution, you're going to hire your favorite attorneys from Albany to handle a condemnation for part of the Bistrian property. Now, I may know more about this than anyone else that would read this resolution and is totally in the dark as to why you are condemning part of a certain Bistrian property. Having read the contract of purchase for the CPF transaction, I believe that this relates to the 1 or 2 acres of land just north of the Amagansett parking lot that you're going to acquire as part of the next phase of that CPF transaction. But what I did note from the contract was language that's kind of envisioned this this condemnation litigation, where it says that the purchase includes the acquisition of portions of existing tax parcels and or portions of parcels previously divided without approval. In other words, subdivisions occurred by deed and not by the required planning board process. And therefore, to facilitate the acquisition of the subject premises, the town may utilize, if necessary to quiet title, the use of a condemnation process with respect to all or part of the premises to be acquired in fee. And I believe this is, we're all talking about this area just north of the existing Amagansett parking lot. So, and this is kind of a consent condemnation that they, by contract, it's agreed that they will not contest it. But I'm just wondering if you could explain either now or when you get to this resolution, why is there a necessity for condemnation?
John, you want to address that?
Yeah, actually, and we weren't positive that there would be a need, but we wanted to provide for that in the contract. Under the regulations of Suffolk County Health Department, with regard to the use of the remaining piece of the property by the Bistrians who are retaining the rest of that property. And it is the section just north of the parking lot. That reference was a little broader because there was another parcel that was split by just deeds, but we acquired both halves, so we didn't need to worry about for that. But the health department made it clear that in their view, in order to make the rest of the property usable, and again, it's restricted for agricultural use, but they might want to have an agricultural building that will have sanitary facilities or something like that. So it would require us to move forward with the condemnation in order to make sure that the property is fully usable and not in any way inhibited by our acquisition of a piece of it. And if we did it this way, they indicated that would be sufficient to make the rest of it not have any impact from dividing a piece of it off.
So akin to what are called, what are sometimes called friendly bankruptcies, this is going to be a friendly condemnation.
Basically,
Correct.
Yeah, basically that's right.
Thank you, David.
And if I could just respond to David's comments about special events, and we will take your comments under consideration. Our past practice was not to put the address in the resolution. We do, depending on the size of the event, the neighborhood in which it is, how big the property is, sometimes we make applicants when they're having large events notify their neighbors and get letters from the neighbors saying that they are aware that such an event is taking place. So, every event is unique, and all of it is considered when the special events committee evaluates the application.
Hey, do we have any callers on the line? Jason?
We have no callers on the line.
In that case, I think we can move forward now with resolutions that are being offered. Kathy, I think you have the first set.
I do. Resolution 2022-718 is approval of the warrant. Claims total $2,238,674.05. And the utility warrant totals $39,951.08.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
Resolution 719 is approval of various special event permits. We've got the Hetrick Martin Institute fundraiser benefiting LGBTQ plus youth in New York City. It's at a private residence in East Hampton, Saturday, July 9th. The permit is for 8 a.m. to 11 p.m., but that includes setup and breakdown. The actual event is from 5 to 10 p.m. We have the Montauk Point Lighthouse Museum is having their 26th annual sprint triathlon and relay. That's Sunday, July 17th from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. We have the Hampton's 20th Century Modern Home Tour. They've got that's Sunday, 8/14 from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And that's at a private residence in Springs and a private residence in East Hampton. And lastly, the 4th for the Kids Foundation, Inc. And that's at the Clubhouse Friday, July 1st from 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. under the tent there.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I apologize. Call me in the middle of a little yawn.
Oh.
So sorry. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Sorry.
No worries. 2022-720 is approval of various special event permits. We put the all of the events at Duck Creek for the season. It's their art exhibitions and music series. I'm not going to read them all. You can go to their website or you can look on the resolution to see the events.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Resolution 2022-721 is to accept bid EH 22-022 miscellaneous food and kitchenware items for May 2022. And that goes to Mibble Foods of New York and APCO Paper and Plastics.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
I'd like to offer Resolution 2022-744. This is to schedule a public hearing for real property acquisition and amend the 2022 Management and Stewardship Plan. Purported owner is Joseph Bruno.
722?
You said
744. Yeah, you just read the number wrong. That's not the right
I
resolution.
apologize. I don't know what I got
was-
that for. Let me restart. I don't offer that resolution. I like to offer this one.
It was a verbal typo.
Yeah. 2022-722. I'd like to schedule the public hearing for real property acquisition and amend the 2022 Management and Stewardship Plan. Purported owner is Joseph Bruno. Location is 77 and 74 Northwest Landing Road in East Hampton. 70. Restart 77 and 75 Northwest Landing Road, East Hampton, Suffolk County Tax Map 390-3-15 and 16 is 0.38 acres of land. Purported purchase price is $690,000. The public hearing is going to be held at 11 a.m. on June 16th of 2022.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
Out of that one. 723, amend resolution 2022-428. This is to Drew Smith, who was appointed to part-time position harbor master with the East Hampton Town Police Department Marine Patrol Division. Now be it resolved that the correct start date for this appointment is May 24th, 2022.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
724 is appoint seasonal park attendant in the recreational department, Kevin Cardona, an hourly rate of $20 per hour, effective June 5th, 2022.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
725 is appoint seasonal custodial in the Parks Department, Teresa Osorio Ruiz, hourly rate of $22 per hour, effective June 6th, 2022.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
726 is appoint seasonal groundskeeper in the Parks Department, Alan Gregg, hourly rate of $21 per hour, retroactive to May 31st, 2022.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
727 is appoint seasonal custodian in the Parks Department, Kenia Portillo, in the hourly rate of $22 per hour, effective June 3rd, 2022.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
728 is appoint various seasonal lifeguards for June 2022 at rates below, effective June 5th, 2022.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
729, retain historical preservation consultant Robert Hefner for outside professional services for the amount of $3,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
730 is reauthorize employee reimbursement for 2021, whereas the town board adopted resolution 2021-78, which authorized reimbursement to certain employees for costs related to drone certifications. Richard Monahan has been authorized for reimbursement for his 2021 expenses per this resolution 2021-788.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
731 is a reimbursement for notary renewal fee for Florence Stone of $60.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
732 is accept bid EH 22-021 for the Stephen Hands Path Comfort Station new IA sanitary system to Keith Grimes Incorporated. The total cost would be $128,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
733 is a notice of bidders for EH 22-025 for surplus oyster seed for 2022. The bids are available from June 9th, 2022, and the bids are due back June 23rd, 2022. Please contact the purchasing department between 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. if you have any questions or concerns.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
734 is asbestos professional for the former Gilbert property. It's a modification where the town has purchased this property, and we set an amount not to exceed $4,500, but it took 6 days at $750 per day. Sorry, we originally approved it of $4,000. We need to increase this by $1,760 for a total not to exceed $5,760.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
735 is a budget modification for the Highway Department. We're in the New York State budget for 2022-23. Thank you. Pave Our Potholes program. They funded the town $124,388.41, and we need to do some budget changes. We're going to increase the revenue line for NY State POP program, that same amount, and also increase our expenditure line for road surfacing in the same amount.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
736 is to authorize the CPF water quality funding projects for 2022 for round one, which we had a public hearing most recently. These projects are going to be for the project sponsors 467 East Lake Drive LLC, $89,843. The New York Center for Clean Water Technology. This is for wastewater treatment improvements in the amount of $132,100. Next project sponsor was the Village of East Hampton for water improvement for the Main Beach Pavilion. The funding award is in the amount of $226,000. The next project sponsor was for the concerned citizens of Montauk to install temporary floating wetlands in Fort Pond for non-point pollution abatement, and the total amount awarded would be $14,250.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
737 is a secret determination for road and drainage improvements for Stephen Hands Path from the Sag Harbor Turnpike to 114 to Long Lane. Whereas proposed projects that unlisted action pursuant to New York State secret, the town board accepts a negative declaration here.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
Resolution 2022-738 is a notice of public hearing for the Edward F. Albee Foundation, Inc. grant of a scenic easement. This is a scenic and conservation easement at 91 Fairview Avenue in Montauk, and the reviewing agency is Zoning Board of Appeals. The public hearing will be on Thursday, June the 16th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
Resolution 739 is to authorize cleanup of an affordable house. The town purchased a home located at 18 Stewart's Lane in East Hampton for resale in the town's affordable housing program. The house contains, as Tom wrote it, junk and damaged carpets that need to be removed prior to the sale. We received a bid in the amount of $7,500 from Norsec and Sons, Inc. And resolved that the following budget modifications are hereby approved. The sale of the real properties increased $7,500 and the contractual services is $7,500.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried.
Resolution 2022-740 is a reclassification promotion to Principal Office Assistant Nora Jacobs. Nora Jacobs resolved that she is hereby promoted to Principal Office Assistant to be paid biweekly at an hourly rate of $27.10 or $56,370.70 annually for a 40-hour work week upon proper submission of time records effective retroactively to June the 1st. Congratulations, Nora.
Congratulations and well deserved. And second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried.
Resolution 2022-741 is to accept security and undertaking for an urban renewal parcel 17 in SP-2-1. This is for Hernan P. Ventimilla. It's map 499, block 5, lots 11 to 17. And it's a cashier's check from JP Morgan for $16,500.
Second.
All in favor? Aye, passed and carried. Resolution 742 is the list appointment for building inspector Justin Winter, and that is for an hourly rate of $32.85, $68,343.39 annually for a 40-hour work week, retroactive to May 30th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. Resolution 743 is training for Edward Schnell, who's our networks communication specialist, and that would be for the Motorola Trunked Users Group meeting, Police Security Expo held at the Sheraton Convention Center, Hotel Atlantic City Convention Center, New Jersey, June 27th through June 30th, not to exceed $1,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed, carried. 744 is a budget modification for the police department, and that is moving $10,000 from telephone to uniforms in the same amount.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. Resolution 745 is budget modification for the airport, moving to increase the appropriated unreserved fund balance in the amount of $500,000 to increase the outside professional in the same amount.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. 746 is to revise resolution number 2021-1421 and 2022-183, increase services and users Motorola Enterprise. And this is,
Microsoft Enterprise.
sorry, did I say Motorola? Still have radios on the brain from the previous resolution.
I'm having a hard time today.
Thank you for that. Microsoft Enterprise Services, and that is resolved that, let's see, the total annual amount is not to exceed $42,037.34.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. 747 is to retain Whiteman, Osterman, Hannah, LLP for condemnation, part of the Bisserine property, and that is at various rates listed in the resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. 748 is to authorize Department of Homeland Security Port Security Grant application to purchase port security and enforcement vessel, and that we're seeking the amount of $315,000 for said grant.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed, carried. Resolution 749 is to authorize renewal of contract with Plain Noise Incorporated. And this would be effective retroactive to April 1st, 2022 through March 31st, 2024. The cost of the town not to exceed $24,600 per year.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed, carried. Resolution 750, accept proposal emergency and public safety radio maintenance upgrades. And this is for a total sum not to exceed $2,700,000. One more time. To read the term. $2,478,674 for the 5-year contract, which includes 3 upgrades during that period, as well as extending the warranties and maintenance.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed, carried. 751, accept a proposal from Civic Plus, C-Click Fix. And that is for, let's see, initial cost of $7,500 and an annual recurring cost of $7,500 with a 5% increase per year, the second year.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. Resolution 752 is to accept proposal of L.K. McLean Professional Services Communication Building, evaluation of patient soffits. And this is in the amount not to exceed $12,800. And this is for preparing bid and bid evaluation, as well as construction support for the various things that need to be repaired on the communications building.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed, carried. Resolution 753 is to establish leave bank shared time for building department employees.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. And then we have several additional resolutions.
Resolution 2022-754 is to accept Peter Hamburger grant of scenic and conservation easement. We heard the public hearing earlier. This is for 12 Sandpiper Lane in Amagansett.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Resolution 2022-755 is to accept aircraft noise easement. Again, we heard this earlier today as a public hearing. This is for 18 Two Rod Highway in Waynescott, and the agency is Planning Board.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. Resolution 756 is to adopt local law to amend various code sections to provide for adjudication by the Administrative Bureau. We heard this earlier today.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. Are there any other resolutions or matters to bring before the board?
No.
I'll entertain a motion to close.
Motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.